In this lecture video, we will learn how to use the dividend discount model to estimate the price of a stock. As we see in the previous lecture video, the dividend discount model states that the price of a stock is equal to the present value of all of its expected future dividend payments. So, to value a stock, all I need to know is the future dividend payments and the equity cost of capital. So we will learn about the RE or equity cost of capital in chapter 13. But now we want to know how to estimate the future dividend payments. In reality, it's usually difficult to estimate dividends for the distant future, say 10 years from now. Therefore, the common approach is to use some kind of simplifying assumptions. Usually, it's common to assume that in the long run, dividends will grow at a constant rate. And we call this constant rate usually G, the growth rate G. So now we want to learn about a model which is called the constant dividend growth model. This model assumes that dividends will grow at a constant rate G forever. So this forever is usually very important for us because as soon as you see forever, you should think about perpetuity, which we learn about it in chapter 4. So let dividend 1 be the dividend in the coming year, t equal 1. So let me draw a timeline. So we're at time 0, we don't receive any dividend. Time 1, the dividend is the total dividend that we are going to receive is div1. Then time 2, we're going to receive dividend 2, and time 3, dividend 3, and so forth. So here I want to use the constant dividend growth model to estimate the future dividend payments. So if I have the value of dividend 1 and the growth rate G, I can write div 2 in terms of dividend 1 and G, the growth rate G. So dividend 2 will be equal to dividend 1 multiplied by div 1. So dividend 2 will be equal to div 1 multiplied by 1 plus G. So let's do this one more time for dividend 3. So dividend 3 will be div 2 multiplied by 1 plus G, because we assume that dividends will grow at a constant rate G forever. So each period, the dividend will grow by 1 plus G. So I can also write these as d1 multiplied by 1 plus G multiplied by 1 plus G, because dividend 2 is equals to dividend 1 multiplied by 1 plus G. And we will have dividend 3 equal to dividend 1 multiplied by 1 plus G to the power of 2. So in general, I can write dividend at time n would be equal to dividend at time 1 multiplied by 1 plus g to the power of n minus 1. So like dividend 3 equals to dividend 1 multiplied by 1 plus g to the power of 2. So if I want to generalize it, dividend at time n would be equal to dividend at the end of year 1 multiplied by 1 plus g to the power of n minus 1. Okay. So here is the timeline that shows what I just talked about. So this timeline shows the case at which dividends grow at a constant rate g forever. So again, once we see this forever, we should think about perpetuity. But because the dividends are growing at a constant rate g, this would be a growth perpetuity. So we learn how to calculate the present value of a growth perpetuity in chapter 4. The formula was the present value of a growth perpetuity equals to our cash flow divided by R minus G. So I can use the same formula here to value the stock. So the value of stock, or the price and the current price of stock at time 0 would be equals to dividend at the end of year 1 divided by the equity cost of capital minus the growth rate G. Note that for this formula to work, RE should be higher than G. And it's not a realistic assumption to think that RE can be less than the growth rate in the long run. Okay. So now let's solve an example to see how this gonna work. Suppose Duke Energy plans to pay 86 cents per share in dividends in the coming year. So dividend 1 would be 86 cents. If its equity cost of capital is 10%, so RE is 10%, and the dividends are expected to grow by 8.4% per year, so our growth rate is 8.4% per year in the future. Estimate the value of Duke Energy's stock. So our formula was P0 equals to D1 divided by RE minus G. So P0 would be equal to 0.68 divided by 10% minus 0.084. And then the answer to this fraction would be our answer or the value of Duke Energy stock, which is $42.50. So in this lecture, we talk about the constant growth model. The constant growth model assumes that the dividends of a stock grows at a constant rate G. If that's the case, we can use the growth perpetuity formula, the present value of a growth perpetuity formula, to calculate the price of stock, and that would be this formula. So in this example, I use this formula to calculate the price of a stock. In the next video, we are going to talk about the limitation of this model.